flywheel, yes! So right here I have the KL block with the main girdle, with the KL flywheel and the KL pressure plate. And then I have a Celica all-wheel drive transmission, all-wheel drive guys, and a Toyota clutch that fits this transmission, the Camry, the Celica, the RAV4, everything. So continuing on with this tranny swap project. It's going to come a lot closer to an end today with programming, so I'll get to that in a second. So I've measured out everything on the engine. So started out off the crankshaft goes in here, and then I measured out from there X and Y and marked it all down onto a piece of paper, made cardboard cutouts, and same with these transmissions here. This is a TC tranny, this is a Camry tranny, and this is the KL engine, obviously. I measured everything out, got it on paper, and now I work 2 days a week. Getting to my plate, so that's super cool. System Technologies basically manufactures anything you really want out of billet and guaranteed the best around. He definitely knows what he's doing. Same with Ryan. So it's just a two-man show plus me for help. I help them out when I can. So I tried to do the measuring whenever I could over the last like 3 or 4 months. Joe let me use the machines. Been working off of that. I got all the measurements good, and Joe's definitely the guy for programming. He's right behind me getting shit done, plugging in the numbers, getting the coordinates in, and we're gonna figure out how this is gonna work, or if it's even gonna work. But figure it out.
We can just toss this in, and we don't care that this thing doesn't scaling anything remotely accurate, because we can just toss this guy in here. We're just gonna match it up to the actual points that you measured in the mill, right? So we'll line that guy up. And then we just have like a basic visual representation. You know what I'm saying?
That's so sick.
What do we need to do here? This is like just processes 1980 meets 2005. At least we got her pretty straight.
That's pretty good.
All right, so what we're gonna do is now we can just do a fairly close trace so that we actually have kind of the shape
Of what it's gotta be.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying.
What Joe just did there was he actually made a round over about 1/2 inch. Because around every hole there is a round over that's equal all the way, just like that. Took a picture and he's gonna compare that.
So there's a design intent behind every dimension, right? Like some sort of something. You know. So there's our engine band, basically. Step 1. Just post your video, it just does. 0.5 millimeters. So we make it at a 1/2 millimeter thick, because that's all you need.
You don't need rigidity when it comes to safety.
You just put a whole lot of cold weld on it, and you just stick her together.
Little bit of JB.
I actually just take the aluminum foil from Zayres.
Is that 1/2 inch thick?
That's 1/2 inch thick.
Damn.
Look at that. And then figure out how to make the starter.
Oh, that gives me chills.
This thing's just, it's your future. This is coming apart, and the flywheel's sawing right through the bow housing.
Right at me.
Just sawing, crankshaft broke. This thing's sawing straight out.
8,000 RPM limiter just break.
No problem. She's like a 8,000 RPM Beyblade just coming at you. Yeah, that's all she wrote. We stayed right on her, bud.
All right, I'm back at home base at the Suicide MX3 shop. I'm so excited right now. Things are really coming together here, and this has been so long in development for this project. It's been a dream, then it became actual project, and then it was actually starting to become a reality, and that's where I'm at right now. I'm gonna share exactly what's going on right here. So right here I have the KL block with the main girdle, with the KL flywheel and the KL pressure plate, and then I have a Celica all-wheel drive transmission, all-wheel drive guys, a Toyota clutch that fits this transmission, the Camry, the Celica, the RAV4, everything. And I don't know if you noticed, there was something in the center here, and that is my adapter plate right here. Thing is complete, and it is made of plastic, so I can actually test this out and make sure it's going to work. So the way I've designed it is I've designed it to work with the stock KL flywheel, so you don't need to buy a flywheel because you've already got it. The stock KL pressure plate, and here's a stock KL starter. So everything KL that you already had, you can keep other than your clutch. So I've got a Toyota clutch here, and that is the only thing that you need to adapt other than the adapter plate, and the things will bolt together and turn the engine over. I've never seen this done where you can use the stock starter, stock flywheel, stock pressure plate, and you can start the car. Revolutionary for my build, which is right behind me. Twin engine, Suicide MX-3. Right there, baby. I can run transmissions that aren't gonna break. The whole goal of this is the transmissions won't break. They can handle almost 1,000 horsepower. Very cheap compared to a dog box or something. They shift good and everything. I found a actual system that's going to work for me, and I can actually sell these plates. Once I get this stuff complete, you can buy one of these and put your KL to a Toyota transmission. Toyota TC, Camry, RAV4, and Toyota Celica. This plate will adapt all of that with one plate. Such a revolutionary thing, I think it's going to be awesome, but I have to test it. Let's see if it's gonna work. It will. Let's see this though. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to put a crankshaft into my KL engine with the main girdle on, with the bearings in, make sure everything's good. Then I'm going to bolt my flywheel up to it, and then with the pressure plate, with the clutch inside, I will bolt it to the actual transmission and see if everything's gonna work and make sure everything's tight. All right, so this dummy engine is fully assembled with the crank in it, the thrust washers, the bearings, and everything. So now I can get a true measurement. I'm gonna put the flywheel on here. And now this is the Toyota clutch. And notice how I actually am using my KL clutch tool and it doesn't fit. And that is exactly why it doesn't work with the other clutch, because the clutch spline is actually bigger on the Toyota, which is good because it handles more power. This thing is beautiful and I can't wait to see it in action. Oh, look at that. The starter's on, the plate is on the engine, everything's looking mint. So the next thing would be the tranny, but I'm gonna make sure that the starter's actually going to engage with the teeth, make sure my measurements were all correct. And like I said, to adapt to these Toyota transmissions, the goal is to not change the starter, not change the flywheel, and not change the pressure plate. All you gotta do is change the clutch, buy my plate, and everything you already have will work. And then you just need the transmission on the engine, ready to go, and then you mod from there. I will supply some of the stuff like engine mounts and stuff depending on what you're looking for, because you can do all-wheel drive swaps, front-wheel drive swap, anything you need to do, you pretty much got it. Just for fun, I'm gonna cross the wires and get her to spin up, you know. This isn't that sketchy, don't worry. Oh, my girlfriend just texted me. She's probably saying, Ty, don't do anything stupid today. You do stupid stuff all the time. Well, I'm gonna do something stupid here. That's all I saw. Yeah! All right, the starter works with the flywheel. Yes! Woo! All right, so I got my plate back off. So now what I gotta do is I have to notch my tranny. Since I am running the factory starter, it doesn't have the same bolt pattern as this transmission. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line it up to where my actual dowel goes into this plate. And then I'm going to mark and cut out this casting on the trans and get this fitting on perfectly before I even try and attempt to get it on the engine. I just turned some bolt heads down, so when I actually put these bolt heads in, it's not going to hit the transmission. I do have proper bolts coming in, but they are not in, and that's fine. So I'm just gonna use these for now. Okay, here's the first attempt trying to get the tranny on. Oh man, this sucks every time. Yes! Oh my God. It went on really good. It just went right in there. That's really, really good. Everything lined up really good. I'm very, very happy with this. So you just saw a video of me mocking up a new adapter plate that was 3D printed onto an engine. That was weeks ago. So this video has been filmed over months and been planned for over a year. So this has been a long process between collecting transmissions, 4 different trannies, also building an engine, not just building an engine, literally making an engine case. So what I have here is a G series transmission and a Celica transmission. This is the stock tranny. This is the Celica. This is not the Camry one. It's actually all-wheel drive. So there is the transfer case that goes into here, and the engine actually goes into there as well. But the transfer case actually hits the engine. So I made a bottom end that will actually fit this, and it was a lot of work. I'll show you. Sweet, so I got the transfer case on the transmission and my adapter plate that I made on the transmission. So next is obviously the engine, but look how far over the transfer case sits where the engine will sit. And this is the engine block that I modified. I had to take about 1/2 inch off of this and quite a bit of material down here where the flange was. So what I actually had to do was add metal to this flange on the inside of the engine. So this is where I actually had to really modify the block straight from here. And this is where there was no metal. So I actually welded all this, and then I took it to the mill, sanded, and I milled it down smooth. Basically got it so the transfer case was notched in here. And there's an oil gallery that is open. This is a drain from the head to the oil pan, and this is not good, obviously. So what I'm going to have to do is put a bung here and cap this so oil won't come through this hole, and then run a line from the block to the actual oil pan. Keep in mind the engine's upside down. I also had to modify the main girdle. This is where the block used to go. It used to be about this big, and I had to take that much material out. This is what a stock one looks like, and this is what the modified one I made looks like. There's a lot of material gone. I really want to make my Red MX3 all-wheel drive. Whatever happens, I'm making it happen. It's just been a thing I want to do. It'll probably be the only one on the planet, just like the Suicide MX3, the only twin engine one, but it's all dedication. And as you can see, plate is bolted to the block, and it all fits, and the crank is dead center. I'm very happy with this. It took literally weeks to do this. All my free time. I don't have much free time, but I made it happen, and I'm so glad I did. I got a little bit more to cut out here. So here's just a little bit of an idea on how I did this. This is how the block normally is, like in and out, this and that. And look where the case is, right? Fully interferes with that. So I had to notch everything around, weld inside of the block, make sure the rod's clear when they rotate, and then face this off with an end mill, and then basically do the same to the bottom of the block. So this is where I actually had to notch it for that as well. And this thing is an absolute unit. It took a lot of work, a lot of welding. All this is fill, smoothed out in most spots. I'm not quite done yet, but there she is. I even made a little trough for the actual RTV, like the stock, that's stock. But all this is new metal that I've added. And this thing is gonna work. I'll put on the bottom of the block right now. And there she is, she's in. And then this is where my oil pan is gonna go. The flange used to go straight through here to here. So it used to go a straight shot to here. This is where the oil pan bolts on. See, this is modified here. I had to make all this. So this used to actually go straight down and then go to here in like a slow circle. I did notch all that out, cut all the metal out with an end mill, basically made everything like 50 thou clearance. And then I made this flange and threaded it, tapped it, and it's good to go. And I think this is actually gonna work. I don't know what's gonna happen. This is where I'm gonna have oil leaks, right? So I've really gotta make sure that that's gonna be a good seal, and I've done the best I possibly could. And in here is a bolt hole that I had to make, bolt the girdle to the engine, and I actually had to drill and tap that as well. So it was an absolute time. So that's a little recap for my all-wheel drive setup that I'm gonna do in my Red MX3. First, I'm going to do the TC swap to show you guys how easy it is to do with this tranny plate that I made that I am selling for 1,000 US. It comes with the hardware, the plate, and the dowels, everything you need to do to bolt them together, and the starter adapter. So you use your stock starter, stock flywheel, and all you do is you get a Toyota clutch. I'm really pumped this is gonna work. So for Red Ted's engine, I'm almost there. So what I've got to do now is I have to drill a hole in here because this is where the oil comes from the head. and drains into the oil pan. I actually had to modify that. Right here, the actual hole is exposed, and that's where oil will literally drain out. Not good, because that's supposed to go to the pan, but I had to modify it in there and notch it right there. Cut a hole, block off this from continuing the oil down, and then I'm gonna have to weld a bung. I'm gonna run a bung from here down to the oil pan, so then that's gonna be how the oil is draining to the pan. And yeah, that's a very complicated thing, but I'm gonna make it happen. But yeah, it fits. Everything was very, very tight. Very, very precisionally cut out. Look how tight that is. The case goes right around it, and it's just as tight all the way around. Nothing touches. And as you can see in there, like, it's even notched for bolts. There's another one way in there. But yeah, it's very tight. Took lots of work, and it's gonna work. That's what's up. The bolt holes match up, so that means the crank is directly in the center. So this is a Toyota Celica tranny with a Toyota Celica transfer case. Got it to finally fit. And honestly, like, it's deadly close to everything. I notched as little bit as possible. Like, look at that clearance right there. As little bit as possible, so I could keep the rigidity of the case as much as I could. And obviously I moved over the flange for the oil pan, and I also moved over the flange for half of the engine. So this engine splits in half, and I actually had to alter that flange as well. So I got it as tight as I could to prevent any structural failure, and that's all I could really do. I was painting the transfer case and then putting them against each other like so. And then wherever the paint would leave marks, like, see, there's a mark right there, I would remove metal from there. And I just kept doing that after I altered the case. Don't just think that I literally just kept cutting and whatever. This is all weld. This is entirely all dabs of weld, because I had to cut the case until it was open, and then I had to close it. So this is all, like, literally weld and adding and subtracting metal until it all worked. And I am no doubt it's gonna work. And I made sure to remove, so I had enough to the left and right of the bolt, so it wasn't actually going to touch something. So there's enough clearance. Okay, so I got all this mocked up, and all this is going to work except for the drain, because the drain is notched in there. I can literally stick my hand in the hole where this actually drains from the head down to here, so that's not gonna work. So what I'm going to do is, here I've got marked out, cut out this square, and then I'm going to add an actual blocking plate so oil can't go down there. And then once I'm done welding that and patching this back over, I'll drill a hole and put a bung, so the oil won't go down to here like it did before. It'll come out this bung hole, and then I'll be able to run a hose around the transmission and then into my oil pan, and that's how I'm gonna drain my head into my oil pan. Peekaboo, haha. All right, another point of no return, so that's exciting. Always making my life extra hard. So what I'm gonna do is literally angle a piece hard up here. It'll actually make the block stronger too. So it's gonna be angled up like this, so it'll direct the oil to the outside of where this piece is gonna be, and that's where my hole will be. So I'm gonna basically do a gradual up and then weld it in, make sure it's really good and sealed. All right, so here she is. As you can see, it's directed out. I've ground it all smooth, but I'm gonna weld over it again just to make sure things are good. Then I'm going to patch here, weld that seam, and then patch here. And then it should be good. There she is, just a massive gob of weld all in there. And what I've done is gone over it, the entire thing, with dabs. So I know it's a little bit thicker than the 1/8 inch, so it should not crack. So I'm praying here that this is gonna work mint. I think it will. It's got a lot of penetration. So now I'm gonna cap the bottom. There we go. Okay, it's time to seal the deal and finish this project up and put this engine together after. Look, the brake clean is on fire inside of my engine. That is so wild. I'll blow in here and you'll see it go, watch. Oh, all right, I finally got a bong. So what I'm gonna do is drill a hole here and then weld this bad boy in, and then I'm done, and I'm gonna send this to get decked, and then I can fully build this engine. I can't wait for the next episode. This thing's gonna get slapped together after I get it back. Woo! Well, there she is. Probably the ugliest thing I've ever done, but it's gonna flow. It's not gonna leak. I went over it a couple times. I've got to get this top of the block decked because this is actually a little bit lower than what is up here because I welded it and it actually dropped. So it needs decked, probably about 5 thou-nies taken off. We'll see what happens. I'm gonna get this thing all done, and next episode, I'm going to be building this engine. And I can't wait to honestly drive one of my MX-3s on the street again. That is my main priority at this very moment. Yes, the purple one's always a priority too, but I can't really do too much with COVID, so I'm gonna take my time, do it right, put some serious computers into it. I got a great sponsorship lately, and I will get back to you on that. That is computer wise. Stay tuned. We'll see you in the next one. Like, comment, and subscribe.